Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our program, Cooking from the Garden. My name is Helen Liu, and I'm the Programming and Partnerships Manager at Cary Library. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to thank the Cary Library Foundation. Their support enables us to bring programs like tonight's event to you. This program is being recorded and will be posted to the library's YouTube channel. If you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A or raise your hand and we will answer them as soon as we can. Now I'd like to introduce our guests. I'm pleased to introduce Katie Walter. Katie is the owner and operator of Two Aprons Cookery. She has been teaching cooking classes out of her home, first in London and now in Lexington for nearly 8 years. In her past life, she has done a bit of catering, co-authored a cookbook titled Some Like It Hot, and put in some time at the America's Test Kitchen in Boston. Welcome, Katie. Thank you for joining us this evening.
So yeah, thank you for having me tonight. I'm so excited to do this class about cooking from gardens. I love fresh produce. I love going to the farmer's market. I have to admit, I don't do a whole lot of gardening on my own, but I grow some herbs. I've grown tomatoes. I have grown things in the past, but I don't have a great setup my house now. So, but anyway, I love going to the farmers markets, and I have friends who have gardens who are always willing to hand over things, because I'm sure for those of you who garden, you do often end up with a bumper crop. So that's what this class is kind of for, to learn what to do when you have a plethora of ingredients from your garden and you're trying to figure out what to do with this produce. Especially, you might have one recipe you've been making for a while, you're just sick of it. So hopefully you'll get some new ideas tonight. And even if you don't have a garden, if you just enjoy eating seasonally, like all the ingredients we're using tonight, you can buy at a farmer's market, you could buy locally like Wilson Farm, or any market for that matter, Lex Farm, any of those. A lot of local farms around here. We're really lucky, because yeah, definitely not all parts of the country have that kind of access. So we're going to do 3 recipes tonight. We are going to do a salad with green beans and a lot of other tomatoes, a lot of other good ingredients. We are going to do a zucchini saute on the stove, and then we're going to do a gazpacho. And yeah, we'll get those all done in an hour. So yeah, we'll be wrapping up by 8. If you have any questions, feel free to ask during the class. You don't have to save questions till the end. And yeah, and with that, I think I will get started. So the first thing we're doing, as I said, it's a tomato green bean salad with beans. Also, you can use chickpeas or white beans, dill, and feta. So we're going to start with our green beans. So I have about 3/4 pound of green beans. Oh, the other thing I want to note too, the recipes will be sent out afterward by the library. So don't feel like you need to frantically write down all the recipes. You will get copies of all of them. So as I said, green beans, we have about 3/4 cup, and we're going to trim them. And to trim them, I trim these ahead of time. And then I'll trim these just to show how you do it. I try to cut off, the stalky end, but not too much of it. I don't want to waste too much. So I cut off as little as I want, or as little as possible. So again, just kind of line them up, cut off a little, cut off a little. Okay. So now we have trimmed green beans, and we're going to cook them in like a medium saucepan of boiling salted water. So I got that started right before class, right before we went on camera. So I'm just going to move over here. Salt the water that'll impart some more flavor into the green beans. And we're just going to do a quick blanch. Like, we're going to cook these for about 2 to 3 minutes. You want it to be tender crisp. Again, just kind of a real quick cook just to soften them. And then we are going to put them and shock them in ice water so they stop cooking. Now, again, these are just standard green beans. Again, you can easily grow these in your garden. You could also use the Haricots, the French version, that are thinner. If you use those, just cook them a little less. Again, you don't want them to be mushy when you put them in the salad. You want still that crispness. So water's almost about to go. And then we'll get that in, and then we will start on, we'll That's just a few minutes. We'll make our vinaigrette for the salad. Okay, so I got boiling water. So now I'm going to add these in here. And again, I'm just going to cook them for 2 to 3 minutes until they're crisp tender. And I want to have my bowl of ice water ready to go. So I just put a bunch of ice in this bowl. I'm going to add a little bit of cold water to it. And now this is ready to go. So as soon as the beans are done, we'll drain them and then put them in that cold water. So now we have all of our other goodies that go in the salad here. So we have our tomatoes, feta, some red wine vinegar, that's going to go in the vinaigrette, some dill, lemon for the vinaigrette, and garlic. Boiling up a storm. Okay, so we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. So I got my lemon. Let's chop off the end. Makes it easier to squeeze. I keep them at room temperature as well. The most lemon out. Now for this vinaigrette, we're just going to go ahead and make it in the bowl. You don't need to use make it in a separate container, add it. We're just going to do it right in here. And again, it's about 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. That looks about right. And then a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. Garlic. Yeah, this salad just sounds so simple with like green beans and tomatoes, but there's something about all these other ingredients you add in. It's seriously, it's one of my favorite summer salads. I just started making it this year, late last year. And yeah, I love it. If I'm grilling out in the summer, or, have people over, this is kind of my go-to salad. Okay, so now we're just going to mince 1 clove of garlic. And when I mince it, I do really thin slices. And then just kind of bunch them together and chop. Now you could, if you want, you could do a garlic press. It just gets really pungent. So for this recipe, again, since we're not cooking it or anything, I'd probably just chop it. My other trick for mincing garlic is using a microplane grater. But again, for this, I think it would be just a little too pungent. Okay, we're just going to chop that. Toss that in with the stuff, lemon juice and vinegar. And then we're going to add in some olive oil. But our green beans just are done, so take these off. And I'm just going to put them back in this strainer real quick. And you can see they're a really nice, bright green color. It'll be a big difference from, when they start out, they're just kind of that green, kind of dull green. Now they're just brilliant green. And I have them in the ice water. And just keep them in here until they cool down. And that's a trick you can use for a lot of vegetables. If you like asparagus, if you want to just cook them a little bit to soften them, then once they get to the point you like them, then just shock them in this cold water and it'll stop any further cooking. Okay, so back to our vinaigrette. Now we're going to add in some olive oil. So 3 tablespoons of olive oil that we're going to whisk in. So then this should be all ingredients you have on hand. Definitely like a vinegar. If you don't have the red wine vinegar, you could substitute another vinegar. Like I have white vinegar. I could try sherry vinegar, but I wouldn't do anything as heavy as balsamic. I would avoid that. But I feel like red wine vinegar is something most people have on hand. Okay, vinaigrette is done. And now we're going to add in the ingredients. So let's go through. Okay, we have tomatoes. So this is a little, it says a pint of cherry tomatoes, or one of these containers. Again, it's kind of a salad. You can be forgiving. So you can, chop these in half if you like. I'm just going to put them in whole. Your preference. Okay, so we got our cherry tomatoes. We're going to do a can of beans. So the recipe calls for chickpeas. I have to say my husband despises chickpeas, so a lot of the time I'll substitute these white northern beans. So that is what I'm going to do tonight. So I'm just going to drain these. Again, it's convenient. I can use that same strainer that I use for the green beans. I'll use to drain the white beans. Now we're going to add some feta, crumbled feta, about a half cup or 4 ounces. So this is a 16-ounce block that I barely used any from, so just cut off a little from this. And then, yeah, the feta just gives a nice salty little creaminess. Crumble that in. Now you could buy the crumbled feta. I have to say I prefer buying the block of feta, even if I am going to crumble it, because I feel like the stuff you buy that's pre-crumbled is just a little dry and it doesn't last as long. Like this will last, yeah, really long. Like I feel like I always have a thing of feta stuck in my fridge that I can use for like any summer salad. Like if I do a green salad, it just makes it so much tastier. I mean, obviously the Greek salad, but yeah, I always have feta on hand. It goes, yeah, with melon. I mean, I know you can grow melon from your garden, so would accent that really nicely. And now we're going to chop up some dill. So about like 2 to 3 tablespoons. So this dill that I'm just going to chop off the end. Give it a rough chop. Again, dill is so fine anyway, you don't have to like mince it. And this is something too you might have in your garden. So this is a great way to use dill. So again, that's about 2 to 3 tablespoons. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And then last but not least, we have our green beans. So again, these are nice and cool. Take these out. Let them dry. You could just put them back in the colander to dry out more, but for the class, I'm just going to go ahead and chop them now. Okay, so I'm just going to cut them into kind of like bite-sized pieces. And again, you can see I just have them mounded here, probably like 1-inch pieces. Add those in. Stir this all together. Put a little pepper on it. Like a lot of pepper. And then salt. I love in the summer for salads using the Malden flakes. Just really nice for fresh things. You don't want to cook with it, but It's a nice like finishing salt for a salad. This is your salad. So you just want to make sure that dill gets distributed. But yeah, this is a great way to use up those cherry tomatoes in your garden. You're growing green beans, that too. And like I said, chickpeas or the white beans are a great substitute too. So here, let me just see. And it doesn't need a lot of salt. The feta is pretty salty. So that's it. And the recipe actually says to let it sit for like 15 minutes for the flavors to meld. So it is one of those salads you can make a bit ahead of time, especially if you don't chop the tomatoes. If you chop the tomatoes, that juice might run a little bit. So yeah, you could make this a couple hours ahead of time and then just bring it out to serve. So yeah, first dish is done. So hang on, let me just rinse the cutting board and I will be back. Okay. So now the next recipe uses zucchini, which I'm sure anyone with a garden probably grows zucchini. It's easy to grow. It goes like hotcakes. You have more zucchini usually than you know what to do with. So this is a new recipe to use your zucchini. So let me grab it. And this is a super simple recipe that yeah, I started making in the winter. And you can use any kind of summer squash, zucchini, yellow squash, but it's just so delicious, so quick, so easy. I love it for a side dish. So, and I'm sure, yeah, if you are growing zucchini, you probably have been making the same recipe over and over and you're looking for something new. So that's what we're gonna do. So we have our 2 zucchini. It's like 2 medium or 4 small. So we're just gonna cut off ends. And now we're just gonna slice it. I'm just gonna line them up together kind of to make it go quicker. And I'm just gonna do like really thin, like 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch thin. Now also throughout the class, if there is something that you are growing in your garden that we are not cooking with tonight, because obviously I can't, and we don't have enough time to do recipes for every garden vegetable, but if there's something that you have in your garden that you're just not sure what to do with, or you have a lot of it and you just need new ideas, feel free to ask in the questions and I will do my best to brainstorm if I have any recipes that use that ingredient. Yeah, the next recipe, like I said, zucchini, and the next recipe is gazpacho. So that'll be using tomatoes, a pepper, cucumbers, just to give you an idea of what's coming up ahead. Okay, so these are cut. And now I'm just gonna stack them as high as I can chop them. Stack these, and I'm gonna just cut them into little batons. So, and by batons, here, I'll show you, just again, little sticks. So you want just thin little cucumber sticks. And I find with vegetables a lot, even just like, yeah, cutting them in different shapes, like with zucchini a lot of the time when I saute it, I'll just keep it in these rounds, and just cutting it into the different shapes just makes it just a little more different and interesting and kind of different flavors and different texture. So if you are kind of have a lot of vegetables, just yeah, try even cutting it a different way. Kind of like with carrots, you know, shredding carrots yields a very different product than if you're just like, you know, slicing them. And I'm sure, yeah, this summer it's been so dry. Hopefully your gardens are managing to hold up. Yeah, it looks like now I've noticed the tomatoes look really good. And as I've been walking through my neighborhood, I see those seem to be going well. I still see zucchini. And then there's some, yeah, like I grow some herbs year round, like chives are out year round. I have some oregano. outside, but yeah, that's about the extent of my gardening. But I've been going to the farmer's market a ton, so. Yeah, one thing, I just bought these really nice radishes, and you know, when you buy things at the farmer's market, they are packaged a little differently than at the typical supermarket. Like radishes will have, you know, they all have the greens, any of those root vegetables have their greens attached. So I've been looking at, yeah, what to do with those greens. And yeah, you can make pesto, you can add them to, this is radish greens I'm talking about. A lot of greens you can make pesto from, but yeah, you can make pesto, you can add it to salads. So yeah, a lot of neat things to do. So I have a bunch in my fridge right now that I want to figure out what to do with. Okay, so now these are all chopped. So again, pretty easy, did not take too long. Now we're going to cook them. So I'm going to move my camera over here so you can see the cooktop. Okay. I got kind of a medium large pan, and I'm going to put that on kind of medium high. And we're going to start by cooking almonds. So we put almonds in these. And I'm going to cook the almonds just plain. I'm not going to use any oil because the almonds, any nuts have natural oil. So, yeah, so you don't need to add extra oil when you're toasting them. How much? Like 2 to 3 tablespoons, I think. And I'm going to just cook them until they're lightly brown. And you can really tell, yeah, I'll move it up to like medium a little bit. And you can tell by smell, you can tell by color. Okay. Yeah, this should just take a minute. I turned it up a little bit. So yeah, we want about like medium high heat. We'll use that to toast the almonds, and then we'll same thing for the zucchini. So it cooks very quickly because again, they're pretty small pieces to begin with. So this whole recipe goes very quickly. And then the final ingredient we'll add. So again, all it is, it's zucchini, it's sliced almonds. Again, if you don't have sliced almonds, you could substitute like pine nuts or just some other, you know, nut in there. And then Parmesan cheese, and a little salt and pepper, and that's it. Super easy. You can see a little color coming. You can smell it. Yeah, I feel like toasting nuts, especially pine nuts, they go from having no color to having a lot of color very quickly. So yeah, if I'm like multitasking in the kitchen, I will always set a timer. So they're getting color. Good. Just gonna wait a little longer because, you know, when you toast them, it brings out the flavor. So I mean, you could just add them at the end, but I just feel like toasting them again adds a lot of flavor. And with this recipe, it's so simple. There's hardly any ingredients. Like each ingredient counts. So you want it to have as much flavor. Okay, so now I think it's pretty good. And now we're going to add oil, olive oil, to cook the zucchini. So about like 2 to 3 tablespoons, probably more like 2. And now I'm just, and again, I just moved the almonds to the side of the pan. And this is going to cook really quickly. You're really just looking for the zucchini to soften. And just kind of, they'll glistening. That's kind of how you can tell too. It should just take like a couple minutes. So now I'm folding the almonds in. Just a couple minutes. And then I'm gonna go get the Parmesan. Actually, I am using Pecorino Romano, so either one of those is interchangeable. And you can use, like, this is the grated. You can also use the shaved curls to either format works. And same thing with the salad, with the feta, like the Pecorino Romano is salty, so I'll probably add a little salt, but not too much salt. And again, and we're not going to cook these till they're mushy. We're only cooking them for like a couple minutes just to soften them a bit. And yeah, if anyone has questions, feel free to. Yeah, I really like zucchini grilled in the summer. Like I'll do long slices and grill it. Just put it with some balsamic and olive oil. But this is just a little different. And even in the summer, it's on your stove for like 5 minutes, so it's not really even heating your house that much. And if you have an induction stove top, it generates even less. So this has been about 2 minutes, and I can see some of the zucchini, like the smaller bits, are kind of bending a little bit. They're all kind of glistening, so I think we're good. So I'm going to I turned off the heat. I'm going to add in a little bit, sprinkle some of this on. Again, I Pecorino Romano or Parmesan. You get my pepper. Gotta have fresh ground pepper. Then yeah, it's ready to serve. So you can just taste. I'm not going to taste it right now because it's too hot. But yeah, taste it and then just see if you want to add a little more Parmesan or if it needs a little salt. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, really nice. Just it's got such good flavor. I have to say, like the nuttiness from the almonds. You got the saltiness from the Parmesan. And yeah, just very simple. So again, if you have a bumper crop of zucchini and you are tired of same old, it's a great recipe. So we are back here. Sure, this is all lined up right. Okay, so we have done 2 recipes now with a variety of garden vegetables. And the last thing we're going to do is gazpacho. And gazpacho, I love. It's a tomato soup that is served cold. You see it a lot in Spain. And there's different versions of it. Like you definitely can do like a chopped version where you chop all the ingredients. It's usually tomato, cucumber. You'll see like some peppers in there too. So yeah, you can do the chopped version, and it's a lot of work because you're doing a lot of chopping, especially chopping tomatoes isn't super fun. Or you can do another version, which is pureed. And you see this a lot in Spain, the pureed version. And it's got a lot of olive oil and it's so simple. And I think it tastes better. Like I just think it is such good flavor and it's ridiculously easy. So, and it does utilize a lot of things from your garden. So that is what we're going to do next. So let me get the ingredients. So as we chop, I'm just going to put everything in this bowl. We get out our vegetables. So we have tomatoes, about 2 pounds of tomatoes, and ripe ones are good. And it's a good thing you can use for like mushy tomato. Like this tomato I have, I got it, I think earlier this week, and it's just kind of gotten mushy. Like I wouldn't want to serve it in like a caprese or anything like that, but it is great for blending it in your gazpacho. So I'll definitely use that. And then I have these other nicer tomatoes. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna chunk them up. So all the ingredients, we're just gonna chunk up because again, we're gonna blend them. So you don't need them finely chopped. So the size for the tomatoes. And I will remove the stem. Okay, so tomatoes. The other thing that I have started kind of experimenting with this summer with gazpacho was adding peaches to it, because I bought a bunch of peaches and again, they were kind of getting really too soft to eat. And I'm like, yeah, I'll throw it in there. And it's so good. So you could substitute some of the tomatoes with peaches. I know some people can grow peaches. So maybe there's someone out there on this call who has peaches in their yard that they're looking for ideas. The other thing that I was using peaches for was like a tomato mozzarella, kind of a caprese, but you chop everything in chunks, like for example, like bite-sized chunks. So like that, chop tomato and chop peaches, and then take fresh mozzarella and just rip it. Like I buy the sliced kind, and I just break it off and rip it. And again, put it in a bowl, add some, again, ripped basil, olive oil, and I forget if I put balsamic. Oh yeah, I did put balsamic in it too. Oh my God, so good. And have that, make sure everything's room temperature. So good. So, and I had like caprese 2 days ago with the slices. I have to say, when you chunk it up and it's all blended together, it tastes so much better. So that's like a super easy, delicious way to use up tomatoes, and basil if you are growing basil. Okay, so I'm almost done chunking these up.
Katie, how long will the gazpacho soup stay fresh in the refrigerator?
Definitely like 3 days, maybe a little longer, but you could definitely count on 3 days. And you can freeze it. Like I have frozen it before, freezed it. So you can do that too. But yeah, it does last for a decent amount. Okay, tomatoes are chopped. Now we're gonna do a pepper, this cubanelle. It's like just a mild pepper. I mean, if you really like heat, you could add a jalapeno, but I typically go for a more mild pepper. And all I'm gonna do, just make sure all the seeds are out. Kind of a weird shape to get in there. Okay. I'm just gonna rough chop that. Okay, pepper is in. Next, cucumber. So just one cucumber. I'm gonna peel it. Otherwise, you'll kind of dark green bits floating around in there, which if it doesn't bother you, you could do it. I do tend to try not to waste cucumbers by peeling them, but for this, I usually do. And I love this recipe because it's just like these rough chops, like no mincing or anything. Red onion. So it calls for a small red onion. This is obviously not a small red onion. So I will use maybe like a third of it is what I'm going to use. It's like a small red onion size. Again, I'm going to go down the middle. So red onion chunks. Okay, and then 1 clove of garlic. I don't have to, I just have to do a rough chop on this. Garlic. And then we have some sherry vinegar. Get that onion off my fingers so I don't end up touching my eyes and crying. Okay, so just 2 teaspoons of sherry vinegar. So I'll just kind of eyeball that. And I would definitely use sherry, not just red wine vinegar. The sherry vinegar adds a dimension. So sherry vinegar, 2 teaspoons of salt. Because again, I'll just adjust it at the end too. And then a 1/2 cup of olive oil. A good amount of olive oil, which we will add that in last. So I have that ready to go. And I have all my vegetables. So you can see just all the vegetables are in the bowl. And now we're going to blend them. So I use my NutriBullet. Yeah, I find like that is the easiest way to, it gives a really nice, blends it really well. You get a really nice smooth texture. Plugged in. Okay, are we on camera? Yep, we're on camera. Good. Okay, now all of this will not fit in that. This is why I have it in a bowl, because it won't all fit together in the NutriBullet. So I have to do it in batches, and pretty much whatever you're blending it in, you'll need to do it in batches unless you have something massive. Even a Vitamix. Vitamix might fit all this. I'm not sure though. But yeah, you can either, if you can, do it all at once. If not, just do it in batches. So I'm gonna just grab this stuff and try to get a variety of it. Okay, it's gonna get noisy for a sec, so just bear with me. Now I'm gonna pour it in a pitcher. Since this gazpacho is pureed, I feel I usually keep it in a pitcher and then just pour it into. So we just keep doing this until everything has been pureed. Now, actually, what I should be doing, so like I said, it's a 1/2 cup of olive oil. So I'm going to measure that, and I'll add a little bit into each batch. So I'll pour a little in here. And yeah, I think with this, it takes like 3 or 4 batches. So it's interesting, when you add the olive oil, the color changes dramatically. Like it turns this orangey color where, I don't know if you can see there, it's more like red and dull, but it becomes like this beautiful orange color. 2 more batches. So if anyone has made the gazpacho where you chop, you'll understand how this version is so much more pleasant. And there's juices in the bottom. I'll put that all in here. That's probably some of the vinegar, some tomato juice, rest of the olive oil. this in. Don't have quite enough room. Together. And you can kind of at this point to put your spoon through, make sure there's no chunks. If you find some chunks, just put it back in there. And so now you can serve this in a bowl. I like doing it sometimes if I'm doing a dinner party. I'll put in these little glasses. And so people can just have like a little bit to start the meal or just set it out kind of as an appetizer. You can serve it chilled, you can serve it room temperature. Just don't serve it warm. So here. Good, I'll probably add a little bit of salt to it, but other than that, it's all good. Yeah, so that's like a super easy gazpacho. And it uses a lot of things you would have in your garden, the peppers, that pepper had a kick. Tomatoes, cucumber, if you're growing onions, you could use your onion. Yeah, and you can play around with it too. If you have some produce you think would work well, throw it in there. Like, you could probably even get crazy, put in some basil, see how that goes. So yeah, it's kind of fun to play around with it. You see a lot of different versions. Sometimes you see watermelon in it. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can make gazpacho, but it's delicious. Yeah, to me, it tastes like a summer garden. So yeah, so does anyone have any questions? One thing, if there's, like I said, if there's something you have in your garden that you're looking for ideas how to cook with it, I'm happy to answer that question or anything about the recipes.
Thank you, Katie. They look delicious. I know we're going to send out the recipes with the recap, but we did have a question about whether you could share the recipe for the tomato peach mozzarella basil dish. And did you serve that on top of crusty bread?
I'll do a quick little write-up for that. But yeah, it's really just kind of like, some tomatoes, I usually do equal part tomato, peach, and then just break off, as much mozzarella as you want to put in there. And then just kind of season to taste with the balsamic. Oh, and basil. Yeah, can't forget the basil. And then, yeah, I just do balsamic and olive oil to taste and then salt. But yeah, I can do a little write-up for that. But yeah, it's very simple and delicious.
We have another question. What would you do with sweet banana peppers?
So you could actually use that for the gazpacho. The other thing you might want to try doing, like this summer, we were doing a lot of grilling of the little shishito peppers. We just toss it with olive oil, salt and pepper, and just do it really quick on the grill. And then we just eat them, they're little bite size. I know the bananas are a little longer, so you could maybe grill them and then just slice them and just eat them like that. I always like to put them on pizza too, although I don't know if that's great if people are doing a lot of pizza making in the summer, but yeah, if you're doing pizza, they're really good on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question is, do you think that substituting eggplant for zucchini would work for the second dish?
I don't think so. For the saute. I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I have to say, I usually do eggplant like in the oven. Yeah, you could try it though, because yeah, kind of a similar texture. Might take a little longer to cook, but yeah, definitely you could give it a try. Yeah, especially if you have it growing in your garden and you have a lot of eggplant on hand. Yeah, might as well give it a try.
I was wondering what's the difference between using a white wine vinegar versus a red wine vinegar in your first recipe for the salad dressing?
Yeah.
Is there a difference? Is it sweeter?
It really depends on the brand. Like you can buy some white vinegars that are sweeter. Yeah, I have a ton of different vinegars, and yeah, I have one white that is made, I think, from sweeter grapes, and it is sweeter. So you're kind of careful what you put it with. But your average like white wine vinegar from the store, like this brand, Holland House, like this is kind of standard what you find at Market Basket or Stop and Shop. Their red wine vinegar and their white wine vinegar are both going to be similar. Like I don't think their white wine vinegar is going to be sweet. It's made just from your standard white wine. So even though they look different and they probably have a little different flavors, you can kind of interchange them too. The only thing is the red has the color, so kind of depending what you're doing. But yeah, I will very often just, if I'm out of one, do the swap. But just make sure, yeah, because different types, if you have like a white wine with like different flavor profiles, like there was this one I used to get, it was like, yeah, I think white wine with basil. If you have any of those flavors, just be careful what you're using it with.
Do you cook with or use white balsamic vinegar?
No, I don't. And yeah, I've just never tried. I feel like, yeah, I always have like sherry vinegar. I have white wine vinegar. I have like a champagne vinegar, or kind of like a sweet white wine vinegar that I use for certain things. And then regular balsamic. And then I have like a really good balsamic. And I feel like at some point I run out of room in my cabinet. So I've never tried like balsamic, but yeah, experiment. If you see, a vinegar that you like, try it. And yeah, and just put it, I use it on green salads all the time. So whatever vinegars you have, just, yeah, experiment. And I don't even make a vinaigrette ahead of time. Like I literally have my bowl for my salad, put in all my greens, whatever. And again, this is another great use for stuff in your garden. Like, I take my greens and then whatever odds and ends I have of vegetables. If I have like one carrot, I'll chop that up. So I always use my odds and ends in my green salad that I have with my dinner. And then, yeah, I will just do olive oil and then whatever vinegar I feel like, and just, drizzle it on the salad and mix it up. So yeah, if you buy different vinegars, that's a great way to use them up. If you don't have like a particular recipe that uses them, use them on your salads.
Do you have any ideas or what to do with your scraps? Do you use it to make vegetable stock, or do you just compost them?
So I kind of go back and forth. Like I have my little compost bin here that I've been using tonight. But I do also sometimes freeze them in a bag to use for stock. So it kind of depends what and I always forget. There's things I know for sure you can freeze for stock, like the onions, celery, carrots, but then I'll forget to, there is actually, you can look up, and there are some really good websites that just list out yes and no, because there are some things you don't want to put in there. Like I forget cucumber skin. I'm thinking that's a no, just because cucumber doesn't have a ton of flavor anyway, so I probably wouldn't use that. But yeah, it is a good idea, like especially onions, and like I mentioned, the celery and carrots, those are really good to save. Yeah, and I just chop them up first, and then I have a Ziploc bag I keep in the freezer that I just keep adding to, and when it's full, I use it. But there are a couple of things that they say not to add. So if you're kind of starting that process, just Google, which vegetables to use for stock, and it'll tell you which ones are a go, which ones are not. Oh, I'll do herbs too. Like if I have herbs that are kind of getting, like I know I'm not going to use, like I'll save my parsley for that and kind of stuff. And you can use the stalks too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have a question. Which vegetables do you do well with lemon juice as a substitute for a vinegar-based dressing?
I feel like lemon juice goes with so many things. Like honestly, like I go through so many lemons. So, I mean, like asparagus, it works really well with, zucchini. We used it in the salad with the green beans and the tomatoes. Yeah, honestly, like, I don't know if there's many things I can think of that lemon doesn't go with, even like eggplant. Like I'll add lemon juice to eggplant when I make baba ganoush. Like, yeah, lemon is a great thing to have on hand. And yeah, I even love it just on my green salads, just lemon juice and olive oil. But and like lemon and dill go nicely. I'm trying to think of some things that lemon is really nice with, but I definitely like asparagus. I'm kind of like lose it, yeah. But no, I feel like lemon is so versatile. Lime is not so much, but I feel like yeah, lemon you can put on anything.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Katie. That was wonderful. So I hope you all enjoyed her program tonight. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Katie. And have a good evening, everyone.
Bye, thanks for having me.